My cousin stood at the center of her vow renewal ceremony, champagne glass raised, designer dress glittering under fairy lights, and said, with a smile that didn't reach her eyes, "I want to thank everyone who supported us through 10 beautiful years. We've built this life through hard work and sacrifice, and we're so grateful to everyone who believed in us." Her husband, David, stood next to her, looking uncomfortable. I stood in the back, near the catering staff, wearing the same black dress I'd worn to watch their kids for 6 years while living in their basement. Nobody acknowledged me. I was part of the furniture, part of the help. "Some people are lucky enough to have family who step up when needed," my cousin continued, glancing in my direction with what looked like pity. "My cousin Sarah has been so fortunate to have a roof over her head all these years. We are happy we could help her during her difficulties." Difficulties. That's what she called the 6 years I'd raised her children while she climbed the corporate ladder. The 6 years I'd worked 16-hour days for room and board and barely minimum wage. The 6 years I'd been too grateful, too useful, too invisible to matter. What she didn't know, what none of them knew, was that David had been having an affair for 2 years, that he'd confessed everything to me 6 months ago, crying in the kitchen at 2 a.m. while I fed his infant daughter, that he'd begged me not to tell, and that in exchange for my silence, he'd signed over 50% of everything they owned: the house, the business, the investment accounts, all of it. The paperwork was filed, the lawyers were ready, and I was about to collect the day after this party ended. Before I tell you how it all fell apart, tell me, have you ever been someone's savior and their servant at the same time? Have you ever been thanked for being grateful while they took everything? And when you finally held the power to destroy them, did you hesitate or did you take what was yours? People say family helps family. In my family, that meant I helped and they took. I moved in with my cousin Rebecca when I was 25. I'd just lost my apartment after my roommate bailed, and I was working 2 part-time jobs that barely covered my student loans. Rebecca called me out of the blue. "I need help," she said. "I just made partner at the firm, and David's practice is exploding. We have 2 kids and another on the way, and we can't find a nanny we trust. What about daycare? Too impersonal. We want family. We want someone who'll love them like their own." She paused. "We'll give you the basement apartment, all meals, and $400 a week. It's not much, but you'd be saving on rent." $400 a week was $1,600 a month. My old apartment had cost $1,200, and I'd been eating ramen for dinner. It seemed like a good deal. It wasn't. The basement apartment was unfinished. Concrete floors, exposed pipes, a bathroom with a shower that barely worked. The all meals meant I could eat whatever I could scrounge from leftovers after I'd cooked for the family. The $400 a week became $400 every 2 weeks when they had a cash flow problem, and the 2 kids became 3, then 4 when Rebecca had twins. I didn't just nanny. I cleaned, I cooked, I did laundry and grocery shopping and handled doctor's appointments and school pickups. I was up at 6 a.m. with the kids and didn't finish until after they were asleep at 9 p.m. Then I'd clean the kitchen while Rebecca and David relaxed upstairs in their master suite with the fireplace and the California king bed. I told myself it was temporary, just until I saved enough to get my own place again. But there was never enough. Rebecca would ask me to skip my pay one week because they had unexpensed expenses. David would promise to pay me back, but never did. The debt I owed them for room and board somehow always exceeded what they owed me in wages. I was trapped. The family loved to tell people about their arrangement. "Sarah lives with us," Rebecca would say at parties I wasn't invited to but heard about later. "She's so lucky we can provide stability for her. She's had such a hard time making it on her own." Hard time making it on my own. Like I was the failure. Like I wasn't raising her children while she built her career. David was different. He was kind, at least. He'd thank me for dinner, ask about my day, offer to take the kids on weekends so I could have a break. Rebecca would shut that down. "Sarah doesn't mind. She loves the kids. Don't you, Sarah?" What was I supposed to say? No, I mind being your unpaid servant? Year 3, Rebecca made senior partner. They bought a bigger house, a mansion in the suburbs with 6 bedrooms and a pool. My basement apartment became a converted garage with slightly better plumbing. They threw a home-warming party, invited everyone they knew. I worked it, serving drinks and cleaning up, while guests asked Rebecca how she managed to do it all. "Great nanny," she'd say, gesturing vaguely in my direction. "Makes everything possible." Not great cousin, not family, great nanny. Like I was staff. Year 5, David's dental practice expanded to 3 locations. They were millionaires several times over. I was still making $800 a month and living in their garage. I started looking for other jobs, but every interview ended the same way. "What have you been doing for the past 5 years?" "I was a live-in nanny for my cousin." "And why are you leaving?" "Because I'm being exploited, because they treat me like a servant, because I'm drowning." "Looking for new opportunities?" I never got callbacks. No references, no recent work history that mattered. I was stuck. Then David started staying up late. I'd find him in the kitchen after midnight, drinking scotch, staring at nothing. "You okay, Knight?" I asked. "Not really." He looked at me with these hollow eyes. "Can we talk?" We talked. He told me everything. The affair started 18 months ago, a dental hygienist at his practice, young, beautiful, uncomplicated. Everything Rebecca wasn't. "She doesn't know," he said. "Rebecca? She can't know. She'll take everything, the kids, the money, the business, all be destroyed. Then end it." "I can't." He started crying. "I can't end it and I can't leave. I'm trapped." I should have told Rebecca. That would have been the right thing to do. But I looked at this man who had been kind to me, who thanked me for raising his children, who saw me as a person instead of a servant, and I saw an opportunity. "I won't tell her," I said slowly, "but I need something in return." He looked up. "Anything. I want security, real security. I want half of everything you and Rebecca own." "What?" "You heard me. Sign over 50% of your assets to me, and I'll keep your secret." "Sarah, that's insane. So is asking me to help you hide an affair while my wife treats me like hired help." I leaned forward. "I've given 6 years of my life to this family. I've raised your children for poverty wages. I've lived in your garage and eaten your scraps and been grateful for it because you told me I should be grateful. Now you're asking me to keep a secret that could destroy everything. That's worth half. Rebecca will notice. Not if we structure it right. Your lawyer can set up an LLC, transfer assets into it, make it look like an investment vehicle. By the time she figures it out, it'll be too late. To undo." He stared at me. "You've thought about this." "I've thought about a lot of things at 2 a.m. while feeding your daughter and wondering why I'm still here." We sat in silence. "Okay," he said finally, "but you have to keep the secret, no matter what." Deal. We shook hands in his kitchen at 3 a.m., and I went back to my garage apartment feeling powerful for the first time in 6 years.
David's lawyer was expensive and discreet. It took 3 months to structure everything properly. An LLC in my name, asset transfers disguised as investments, real estate holdings split through shill companies. By the time we finished, I owned 50% of everything. The house, the dental practices, their investment portfolio. $4.2 million in assets. Half of it, mine. Rebecca never noticed. She was too busy with her own career, her own life, her own ambitions. The paperwork was filed. The transfers were complete. I was no longer the poor cousin living in the garage. I was a secret millionaire waiting for the right moment to reveal myself. That moment came 6 months later when Rebecca announced the vow renewal. 10 years of marriage, she said at dinner one night. We should celebrate. Something big. Sounds expensive, I commented from the kitchen where I was doing dishes. We can afford it. She didn't look at me. David's business is doing so well. We're very blessed. Blessed. The word made my skin crawl. Are you inviting Sarah? David asked carefully. Of course. She's family. The way she said family made it clear I was a different kind of family, the kind you invited out of obligation. The planning began. Rebecca hired the most expensive planner in the city, booked a country club, invited 200 guests, planned a ceremony that cost more than most people's actual weddings. I watched from the sidelines, still working, still invisible, still waiting. "Make sure you have something appropriate to wear," Rebecca told me a week before the event. "I don't want you looking out of place." "I'll manage." "And you'll help with the kids during the ceremony, right? Keep them quiet." 6 years of raising them, and she thought I'd spend her vow renewal as the babysitter. "Sure," I said. The night of the ceremony arrived. The country club was decorated like a fairy tale. Thousands of white roses, crystal chandeliers, a string quartet. Rebecca wore a dress that cost more than I'd earned in a year. David wore a tuxedo and looked like he wanted to be anywhere else. I wore my simple black dress and stood in the back near the catering staff, watching. The ceremony was beautiful in that expensive, hollow way. They recited their vows about love and commitment and building a life together. Rebecca cried prettily. David held her hands and said all the right words. Nobody mentioned the affair that was still ongoing. Nobody mentioned the nanny who'd made their entire life possible. The reception started with speeches. Rebecca's parents talked about love. David's brother made jokes. Then Rebecca stood up for her toast. That's when she said it, the line about me being lucky to have a roof over my head, about her happiness at helping me during my difficulties. The room full of wealthy people looked at me with pity. Poor Sarah, so fortunate to have successful family who'd take her in. I smiled and nodded and waited for her to finish. Then I caught David's eye. He looked panicked. He knew what was coming. As Rebecca sat down, basking in applause, I walked to the front. "Excuse me," I said to the MC. "I'd like to say a few words." Rebecca looked surprised. "Sarah, we didn't plan for—" "I know, but I have something important to share." I took the microphone. The room quieted. "I want to thank Rebecca for her kind words about how lucky I am. She's right. I've been very lucky these past 6 years." I paused. "Lucky to live in your garage? Lucky to raise your 4 children for less than minimum wage? Lucky to work 16-hour days while you built your careers? Lucky to be invisible while you celebrated your success?" Rebecca's face went pale. "What are you doing?" "I'm telling the truth. The truth about how you've treated me like a servant while calling it family. How you've exploited me while calling it generosity. How you've paid me poverty wages while accumulating millions." The room was dead silent. But here's something you don't know. 6 months ago, David came to me with a secret, a big secret. And in exchange for keeping that secret, he signed over 50% of all your assets to me. Gasps rippled through the crowd. Rebecca stood up. "That's not possible." "It's very possible. It's done. Filed with the county, legally binding. I own half of everything. The house, the dental practices, the investment accounts, all of it." I looked at David. "Would you like to tell her the secret, or should I?" David's face was white. "Sarah, please." "He's been having an affair for 2 years with a hygienist from his practice. Her name is Jessica. They meet every Tuesday and Thursday afternoon at a hotel downtown." Rebecca made a sound like she'd been punched. "You're lying." "I'm not. David, show her your phone. Show her the messages you think you deleted but I backed up to the cloud." David pulled out his phone with shaking hands. Rebecca grabbed it, scrolled for 30 seconds, and threw it across the room. "You bastard! Both of you!" "I'm not the one who's been cheating. I'm just the one who documented it in exchange for what I'm owed." "You manipulated him." "He manipulated me for 6 years. He and you both. You used me, paid me nothing, treated me like I was lucky to be exploited."
When he needed something from me, I finally had leverage, so I used it. I set down the microphone. "The paperwork is filed. You can contest it, but David signed everything voluntarily. Your marriage might survive this, though I doubt it. But either way, half of everything is mine." Rebecca was crying now, real crying, not the pretty kind. Why? Why would you do this? Because I'm done being grateful for scraps. Because you taught me that family means taking advantage of whoever is weak enough to let you. Because I finally learned to play by your rules. I looked around the room of wealthy guests staring in shock. Enjoy the rest of your vow renewal. I'm sure it'll be very memorable. I walked out of that country club with my head high. Behind me, I heard Rebecca screaming, David trying to explain, guests murmuring, the sound of expensive party falling apart. I didn't look back. The legal battle started immediately. Rebecca filed for divorce and tried to contest the asset transfer. Her lawyers argued I'd coerced David, manipulated him, taken advantage. David's lawyers, the same ones who'd set up the LLC, had documentation proving everything was voluntary. Signed contracts, video of David agreeing to the terms, emails discussing the arrangement. It was airtight. 3 months later, the divorce was final. Rebecca got the house and primary custody of the kids. David got his business and shared custody. I got $2.1 million in liquid assets and 3 investment properties. The garage apartment I'd lived in, I sold it back to Rebecca for $200,000. Market rate for a converted garage in that neighborhood. She paid it. 6 years of labor, finally compensated. Rebecca tried to turn the family against me. Told everyone I'd destroyed her marriage, stolen her money, betrayed her trust. Most of them believed her. I didn't care. I'd learned that family who treats you like a servant doesn't deserve your loyalty. I moved into a small condo downtown. Nothing fancy, but mine. I enrolled in online classes to finish my degree, started looking for real jobs with my newfound financial security. I didn't have to settle anymore. David called me once, 6 months after everything fell apart. I lost everything. Not everything. You still have your business and your kids. I lost my wife, my reputation, half my wealth. And I lost 6 years of my life working for poverty wages while you built that wealth. Call it even. Do you regret it? I thought about it. No. Do you regret the affair? Every day. Then we both learned something. I hung up. A year later, I ran into Rebecca at a coffee shop. She looked older, harder. She saw me and her face twisted. I hope you're happy. I'm doing okay. You? I'm rebuilding. Without you. Without David. With people who actually care about me. That's good. Everyone deserves people who care about them. You destroyed my family. Your family destroyed itself. I just stopped being collateral damage. She stared at me. You used to be kind. I used to be convenient. There's a difference. I picked up my coffee. For what it's worth, I'm sorry it ended this way. I'm sorry David cheated. I'm sorry your marriage fell apart. But I'm not sorry I took what I was owed. 6 years of help doesn't equal millions of dollars. 6 years of raising your children while you pretended I was lucky to be exploited. Yes, it does. Every sleepless night, every meal I cooked, every time I put your kids before my own life while you treated me like the help. That's worth millions. She had no response. I hope you find happiness, I said. Real happiness, not just success. There's a difference. I left her standing there. I don't know if she ever understood. I don't know if she ever saw how she'd treated me, or if she just saw herself as the victim of my betrayal. It doesn't matter. I'm not waiting for her approval anymore. These days, I work as a family services consultant. I help people navigate nanny contracts, caregiver agreements, domestic worker rights. I make sure no one else gets trapped the way I did. The work pays well, better than $800 a month anyway. I also bought the building where Rebecca's law firm leases office space. She doesn't know I'm her landlord. Every month, her rent payment goes into my account, and I smile thinking about the irony. She spent years making me pay for the privilege of being exploited. Now she pays me for the privilege of having an office. Sometimes people ask if I feel guilty, if taking half of David and Rebecca's assets was too much, if I could have handled it differently. I tell them the truth. I feel free. For 6 years, I was told to be grateful for scraps. I was told that my labor didn't count because it was family helping family. I was told that I was lucky to be used. They were wrong. And when David handed me the opportunity to finally get what I deserved, I took it. Not because I'm cruel, not because I'm vengeful, but because I finally learned that being kind doesn't mean accepting crumbs. That loyalty to people who don't value you is just self-destruction. That sometimes the only way to escape exploitation is to take the power when it's offered. If you've ever been the live-in help for family who treated you like staff, I see you. If you've ever worked for poverty wages while they accumulated wealth and told you to be grateful, I understand. Tell me, when did you realize that being needed isn't the same as being valued? And when you finally had the chance to take what was yours, did you hesitate or did you take it? The nanny who owned half, that's who I am now. Not the poor cousin, not the grateful charity case, not the invisible servant raising someone else's children. I'm the woman who learned her worth and demanded it. I'm the woman who stopped accepting less because they convinced me I deserved less. I'm the woman who looked at 6 years of exploitation and said, never again. Rebecca spent that vow renewal celebrating 10 years of marriage built on my unpaid labor. I spent it claiming what I'd earned. She lost her marriage, I gained my freedom, and honestly, I got the better deal.